Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in the show today, Indonesia Tzu Chi volunteers are visiting the homes of their fellow volunteers who were also affected by the flooding last month. In a new series of featured reports on compassion for Jordan, we take a look at the lives of Syrian refugees in Jordan. And in our continuing reports on Hainan Island, we meet newly certified Tzu Chi volunteer Cheng Wen, who promises to inspire more residents to join Tzu Chi. In Jakarta, Indonesia, a severe flooding last month has affected tens of thousands of residents. Some Tzu Chi volunteers were also among the flood victims, whom selflessly devoted themselves to relief work before cleaning up their own homes. As flood survivors' lives are slowly returning to normal, Tzu Chi volunteers in Jakarta visited their fellow volunteers with gifts and aid supplies.
At the kitchen of the Jinsi Hall in Indonesia, Tzu Chi volunteers are busy making desserts as gifts for fellow volunteers who were themselves flood victims.
As the flood struck, some of the volunteers' houses were also waterlogged, so we are making some desserts for them to show our care.
As the relief work concludes, Tzu Chi volunteers in Jakarta carried out home visitations on behalf of the affected volunteers. The event is also joined by students and parents of the Tzu Chi Academy.
This event teaches us that in addition to giving aid supplies, our devotion and care are also helpful. We can also learn many things when helping other people.
After the packages are ready, the volunteers send them out to the affected volunteers.
Although we are all dedicated volunteers, we didn't have a chance to visit them in person. This time we can visit them and bring them care and surprises.
Our house was flooded, but thankfully the water has receded. I'm really glad to see the Tzu Chi brothers and sisters today. They not only brought care, but also these precious gifts. My family and I are really touched.
With the Tzu Chi brothers and sisters' care, these selfless volunteers will find more strength in carrying on Tzu Chi's missions.
Recently in Germany, Tzu Chi volunteers from different cities came together in Hamburg and held a year-end blessing ceremony. The 210 participants at the event included members of the Chinese community and other local residents. This is the scene at Tzu Chi's year-end blessing ceremony held in the city of Hamburg, Germany. The event was not only joined by members of the Chinese community, but also local residents. The volunteers hoped through this event, many could come to a better understanding of Tzu Chi.
Tzu Chi started in Germany in 1995, and now we have volunteers in all parts of Germany.
The year-end blessing ceremony is conducted in both Mandarin and German, as volunteers hope all the participants can enjoy the ceremony. German volunteer Rudolf Pfaff also shares how Tzu Chi has changed his life.
For the past few years, I've gone through 3 surgeries, and I realized that life is full of impermanence. When I met Master Zheng Yan, I was truly touched by her compassionate heart, so I vowed to do things that benefit others.
In spite of the language barrier, Tzu Chi volunteer Rudolf Pfaff sings a Tzu Chi song in Taiwanese. During the ceremony, volunteers not only put on sign language performances, but also present each participant with red envelopes of wisdom and blessing.
I'm not a Tzu Chi member, but as Master Zheng Yan says, if everyone can have a compassionate heart, at least we can inspire those around us.
At the end of the year-end blessing ceremony, many in the audience donate money from their bamboo coin banks, hoping the money can help those in greater need. In Myanmar, Tzu Chi volunteers held a year-end blessing ceremony at the Khmer Nunnery School in Yangon. For the past 4 years, volunteers have held regular free clinics to safeguard the health of these nuns. To reciprocate Tzu Chi's love, many of them donated money from their bamboo coin banks. Waiting in line for their chance to donate money. Today, Myanmar Tzu Chi volunteers are holding a year-end blessing ceremony at the Khmer Nunnery School in Yangon.
These are alms given by people. It is not a large amount of money, but those that donated the money also cultivated blessings.
For the past 4 years, Tzu Chi volunteers have held regular free clinics at the school to safeguard the health of these nuns. Volunteers also seized every opportunity to promoting the aphorisms and the concept of the bamboo coin banks.
It is a good chance for our students to cultivate blessings. Every Monday we will donate money to the bamboo coin banks, and for those that are poor, we don't force them to donate. The most important point is to teach them to have a compassionate heart.
Every day I get 100 kyat as allowance. Sometimes I will donate 100 kyat or 50 kyat, as I hope the money can be used to help the needy.
On the day of the year-end blessing ceremony, many children donated money from their bamboo coin banks. The volunteers also presented each of them with red envelopes of wisdom and blessings.
Before we were receivers, but now we can save money in the bamboo coin banks and help those in need. It is more blessed to give than to receive.
Receiving love and care from others, the nuns and children hope to contribute their share by bringing warmth to the dark corners of society. In what started as a peaceful demonstration in March of 2011 has become a civil war between government and opposition forces that rages in Syria till this day. The months of fighting have left many people homeless, many whom have fled to neighboring countries for safety and shelter. For the next few days, we take a closer look at the war and the problems that have arisen as a result.
The civil war in Syria has raged for 690 days so far, leaving 60,000 dead in its wake. Artillery and gunfire is traded back and forth as government and rebel forces fight over land that has been devastated by the months of war. On the wings of the Arab Spring movement, the people in Syria rose up against government repression and the problems of corruption and unemployment. However, with the centuries-old animosity between Sunni and Shia Muslims rearing its ugly head, a lack of agreement among members of the UN Security Council, and the interference of the region's terrorist groups, peace here is still very far away. The war has created more than 500,000 refugees who have fled to neighboring countries. Jordan to the south has already accepted 120,000 of them.
This is the border between Syria and Jordan. About 300 meters behind me, you can see the road that serves as the border between the two countries. It is estimated that every night at least 500 to 1,000 refugees cross the border into Jordan illegally. Unfortunately, over 250 children have been killed by snipers trying to make the border crossing.
As the border is full of snipers, our interview team has been unable to get closer than this. The affiliation, nationality, and motives of these snipers are unknown, but the deaths on this road and the blame game associated with them have caused further rifts within Syrian society.
1 month ago, from here, 1,200 every day.
This valley, at 1,100 meters above sea level, serves as a natural border between Syria and Jordan. It has also become one of the preferred routes of refugees crossing into Jordan. Along the way, however, they have to overcome icy winds, steep slopes, and shellings by Syrian tanks.
From beginning, when the refugees came here, we received them. Some of them, they are injured. Some of the soldiers, he use the underwear, T-shirt, to use to treat them, the food. Yeah, we help them for everything.
Jordanian and Syrian. Besides, we are Arabs. But we are neighbors. We are neighbors. We are connecting together with marriage. You know, Jordan is a small country, but we want to give hand to share them in their disaster.
Although Jordan has remained neutral in the civil war, the country has worked to address the many humanitarian issues stemming from it, with troops setting up refugee camps on the border as temporary shelters. For those refugees that survived the fighting in Syria and the dangerous trek towards Jordan, they are sent to a UN refugee camp 85 miles from the border, where they find food and safety.
In Chile, the Tzu Chi Santiago Liaison Office held an aid distribution which saw 33 volunteers come forth to help out. To show their respect to the recipients, volunteers bowed as they handed out relief items. Besides daily necessities, each aid pack was also filled with Tzu Chi's love and care.
Unloading from the trucks are bags of relief items, which will be handed out to the needy people in Chile. At the aid distribution, 33 volunteers come to help. Before the aid distribution begins, young volunteers first hand out toys to the kids on site. Tzu Chi volunteers' sincerity and respect in handing out relief items moves a lawyer named Claudia.
The aid distribution went really smoothly. The whole process and the coordination of the volunteers were efficient. Tzu Chi's help is beyond my expectation.
Though 75% of the population in Chile are Catholics, the respect shown by the Buddhist NGO impresses them as well. Tzu Chi volunteers not only put on a sign language performance, but also thoughtfully explain the meaning of the blessing and wisdom red envelopes to a visually impaired woman. Their selfless giving spirits deeply moved the local volunteers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Each bag of aid supplies not only comes with daily necessities, but also includes the boundless love and care of Tzu Chi.
According to statistics, Taiwanese purchase over 11 kilograms of soybeans per capita each year. Since the Taiwanese government opened its doors to soybean imports, locally grown soybeans are no longer favored as they are more expensive. Currently, about 90% of the soybeans are imported from abroad. In this series of reports, we take an in-depth look at what soybean consumption means for us in Taiwan.
The temperature and humidity levels need to be recorded twice a day, once in the morning and again in the afternoon. We need to maintain the temperature between 12 to 20 degrees Celsius with humidity levels below 70%.
To ensure the soybeans are not exposed to spoilage, proper management is required throughout the year.
For the duration of the voyage, the storage compartment is below the waterline and the beans are kept away from the humidity of the bilge.
As a second-generation manufacturer of organic soy products, Zhang Youzong is also an organic inspector. He works to make sure raw organic materials are distributed in small packages from the source, ensuring no exposure to high temperatures or moisture occurs.
In the United States, freight trains operate around the clock, and according to studies conducted in the United States, carriage temperatures may reach as high as 71 degrees Celsius by the end of the day, which has damaging consequences for soy protein.
Taiwan's management of soybeans is governed by the Chinese national standards, which separates the soybeans by color, then classifies it into 4 grades according to their weight, extent of damage, presence of ruptures, and impurity content. Grade 3 and 4 soybeans are not for human consumption. Since soybean imports began in 1960, To date, 90% of Taiwan's imports are primarily grade 2 soybeans from United States and Brazil.
It's possible that during that time, not so much thought was given to this. Soybeans are just soybeans to many. Animals can eat them, and humans can consume them. In the past, the quality of soybeans was not a concern. It's now the genetically modified soybeans that are the problem.
In 2000, over 50% of soybeans grown in the United States were genetically modified, and in 2011, this number went up to 94%. According to the Department of Health, 90% of imported soybeans are genetically modified soybeans. One of the problems we face is that although these soybeans contain herbicide-resistant genes, they can also lead to an increase in herbicide use.
In Taiwan, the amount of herbicide we allow for human consumption in rice grains is 0.1 ppm, and in soybeans it is 0.2 ppm. Yet for soybeans imported from the United States, we allow up to 10 ppm.
After harvest, various types of soybeans are mixed together according to their grades to make up grade 2. It is possible that during transportation, high temperatures and humidity can give rise to germination or thermal metamorphism. This is one of the biggest questions we face with imported soybeans.
When you store a large amount of grains in a single unit, it becomes a breeding ground for mold and bacteria. And whether it is used for animal feed or human consumption, it poses a great risk for our health.
The consumption of soybeans here in Taiwan equals 11 kilograms per capita per year, a number that is higher than either Japan or China. With the same high demand for soybeans as Taiwan, Japan usually only selects soybeans which are suitable for human consumption.
This is a different type of soybean which is higher in protein content, and it is not genetically modified and doesn't contain a high herbicide content.
If we take a closer look, we see that tofu, soy milk and certain cooking oil all come from soybeans. However, from their packaging, consumers clearly know if they are purchasing organic and non-genetically modified soy products. However, those sold in bulk do not provide such information. In reality, no matter which type of soybean we consume, there is no absolute good or bad. Rather, the focus is on whether the consumer is able to have sufficient information and knowledge to make the best selection for themselves.
In our second featured report on the Hainan Island, we meet newly certified Tzu Chi volunteer Chen Wen. In 2010, Chen met Nanjing Tzu Chi volunteer Li Wancai and began promoting Tzu Chi's work in Hainan. At the end of last year, Chen finally received her volunteer certification.
With a friendly smile and warm greeting in her mother tongue, Tzu Chi volunteer Chen Wen, who was born in Hainan, helps translate at every visit to local nursing homes. Chen Wen married Taiwanese businessman Si Yong many years ago, who is currently the director of Hai Coast Taiwanese Entrepreneur Association. Together, the couple donated an apartment that would become Tzu Chi's regional office in Hainan. It just happens that I am not a career woman. It is my husband who is the breadwinner at home, and I am just a housewife. When I got really busy, it was after I joined Tzu Chi. Sometimes I would neglect things at home, and I feel bad about that. It is the sorrow for neglecting her family that first prevented Chen from devoting herself wholeheartedly to Tzu Chi. Nevertheless, after taking part in volunteer work, the housewife changed her mind. Since joining Tzu Chi in 2010, Chen Wen has not only participated in home visitations locally, but also travels to Guangzhou regularly to join volunteer training programs there. Despite having to fly to Taiwan to visit her son, who is studying at the Tzu Chi Middle School, Chen is more worried about Hainan's volunteers. What we really need to do right now is to call on more bodhisattvas to join us. And next, we need to ensure each volunteer gets the training they need. If we only focus on the numbers but not the quality, we won't achieve anything in the end. After 3 years of hard work in Hainan, Tzu Chi finally gained recognition from the local government and also held their first large-scale year-end blessing ceremony this year. It is also then that Chen Wen became a certified Tzu Chi volunteer. The moment I was certified as a Tzu Chi volunteer, I vowed to myself that the next year that I go back to Hualien, I must bring a group of volunteers to get certified. I want to be mindful in doing Tzu Chi's work, so the master will not have to worry. On stage performing the sign language performance of Fulfilling My Dream, Chen Wen's eyes shine with determination as she vows to spread Tzu Chi's seeds of love across the Hainan Islands.
In Malaysia, to raise funds for the construction of the Tzu Chi Education Center and Dialysis Center, Penang Tzu Chi volunteers held a total of 20 charity concerts. As the concerts have come to a successful end, volunteers gathered together and shared their thoughts and changes after volunteering at the events. To raise funds for the construction of the Tzu Chi Education Center and Dialysis Center, Penang Tzu Chi volunteers in Malaysia held 20 charity concerts. Every night, other than performances by famous vocalists, many volunteers also contributed their share to the show.
On stage, the most important thing is not to be afraid. When you are willing to put your heart into the performance, you can touch those in the audience. When everyone is inspired to have a compassionate heart, the love that accumulates can be great.
Also volunteering at the charity concert is Fang Youren, who was responsible for the performance lighting for the first time. In fact, Fang lives in the town of Kulim, which is far away from Penang. In spite of the long distance, he says it is the right thing to do.
When I visited Taiwan, I heard stories about many Tzu Chi aunts and uncles. They told me to do the right thing, and I believe to become a part of Tzu Chi is the right decision.
The performances not only inspired those in the audience, but also the staff at the local art center. Among them is Wu Junbing, who says he wants to join the volunteers' ranks.
Tzu Chi volunteers are very friendly and all have a compassionate heart. I hope I can contribute my share and help the needy. The performances have come to an end, but many in the audience are now inspired to continue the cycle of love by helping those in greater need. We go back to Indonesia at the end of the show. As floodwaters from last month's flooding have receded, many local residents are currently busy cleaning up their homes. To help, Jakarta Tzu Chi volunteers arrived at different communities to help local residents with the cleaning work. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.